which lets him bring back the souls of the dead people that they had already killed. And this wave of dead people just fuck up SEAL Team 6 and almost murder Zelly and the Emperor. And over the course of this, King Balder, of course, gets a hold of Zelly because he fucked them up. And as he's about to take her all the way back to their crib, like wherever the skulls truly reside, she is able to call on her storm, you know, tap in, be like, you ain't getting me, explosion, and they escape. So they get back. Zelly, the Emperor, and Inan get back. They all escape back to New Gaia, at which point Ma'e, the princess that stopped them from being executed, and the other girl from this prophecy, she's actually a super powerful vine weaver, or whatever this magic is called, from New Gaia. And she's actually the most powerful of their place because she's a protege to the most powerful person in that, which is this lady named Yeva, who has a direct connection to their goddess, who's like this Mother Earth goddess, whatever. And so after they get back, Yeva sacrifices her life through her connection with the great Mother Goddess in order to bring Zelly back. So the New Gaia loses their protection deity. Zelly comes back to life. Everybody's sad because they fucked up. But they're like, we have one last chance at this, because they're trying to kill Balder before this blood moon arrives. This blood moon is something else that was told to Zelly in that vision that the medallion gave her way back when. They're like, yo, these are the conditions with which he's going to harvest y'all and become a god king. One of those is the blood moon. So they're like, we don't know when this blood moon is coming, but we got to up it on him before then. So they launch a second attack. This time it's supposed to be like a attack. The plan is to burn all of King Balder's ships so he has no way of sailing to these new lands. Because on the previous attack where Zelly got fucked up, Inan had actually snuck into the captain's quarters and found this map that let them know a couple things, actually. One, that the world is so much bigger than wherever King Balder's from, New Gaia and Orisha, because the map covers all these different lands that we'll presumably maybe never see, because this is the third book. Maybe, I think it's the third book. Which again, is just like, I feel like this book should have been split into a couple different books so you could cover all this new discovery. But they also discover that there are war plans that on this blood moon, when he harvests them, he's going to be launching invasions on both New Gaia and Orisha. So they're like, let's put a kibosh on all of this, sneak in, burn his ships, maybe hopefully kill him, and then be done. Of course, for this, they recruit the two girls that he needs for this, Ma'e and Zelly. Once again, they hop on with the crew, head to his place. Lo and behold, blood ritual. It was a trap. So he gets his hand on Zelly and Ma'e again. And the weird thing is, he places a medallion in Ma'e's chest because that's what the ritual was needed for. But at the beginning, we hear that he's like harvesting and ripening it inside of Zelly's chest for this magic. He just places that shit right into Ma'e, and he's like, well, ready, dinner's done. And so he starts sucking the shit out of him, and Zelly is like, can't let this happen. So she actually kills herself in order to stop him from siphoning all these powers. She stabs herself in the heart, and it stops him from fully absorbing Ma'e and becoming this full god king, which truly doesn't mean much to the audience because we don't know what his powers fully are even now. The medallion pops up with new powers every single moment. We didn't know how powerful he was compared to them, and we don't know how powerful he was supposed to become. All we know is that he's not what he thought he was supposed to be. But he's powerful anyway, because they still skedaddle back to New Gaia once again. At which point, this time, Zelly is revived by Inan sacrificing himself, his life force, to her, which then fully evokes her powers. So while King Balder has come to New Gaia, which all these lands not touching each other is kind of ridiculous now that we have all these wars being fought and the travel between these lands happening so quickly. It's like, how have you never run into these people? But he sends troops to both Orisha and New Gaia. It feels like they added the Orisha part just because they Tomi remembered that that's where everything in the series had happened up until now, so she has to make sure that it wrapped up back where it started, because we had not been talking about this for most of the book. Everything on that side of the story is bland and boring as fuck because we haven't had any build up for it. So the ending of the book is kind of rapid fire, kind of rushed, and it's all capped by an ex machina moment because Zelly gets in touch with her powers because Inan sacrifices himself, and then she has this conversation with her inner being, and she's like, I am who I am, and unlocks both her undead necromantic powers and the storm powers, fucks up King Balder's whole legion, flies across the sea with her powers of storms, and then wipes out the fleet, and then that's how everything ends. It's like all this builds up into just an ex machina moment. That is the plot. Now, to really just hone in on the specific things that bothered me, but before I get to that, I will acknowledge one of the things that I really did like about this book was they discussed, or it felt like they were trying to discuss, how a lot of times the power that we can attach to or oppress people can attach to prior to the experience of being oppressed, oftentimes that power is derivative of the systems that are oppressing us. And we can have such a strong attachment to that sense of power because that's our only feeling of protection, despite the fact that it's also contributing to our denigration at the same time. And I think that that is something that the book tries to talk about through this discussion of Zelly having this foreign power, this medallion that's stuck in her that she relies heavily upon in order to defeat King Balder up until the very end. And it always has some kind of repercussion, and it always means that she is under the control of King Balder, no matter how powerful it makes her feel. And this is reflected in the story of Zayn, because he has his blood axe that is his only sense of power, his only sense of ability to protect his sister and his people, which is so important for him now that he's gone through these traumatic experiences of failing to do that, having encountered the skulls. But his reliance on the skulls weaponry ensures that he's continuously hurting the people that he's trying to protect, because he keeps going berserk and just betraying the people that he wishes that he could protect, because he's relying on this power that's ultimately a betrayal of who he is. And so I think that's a cool element of the book, but even that element of it is so surface level because we never really dig into what is really being said about these different people. I think one of the biggest missteps of this book is how little we know about the skulls, because a villain is very important to a novel, and the motivations of them are very important to the characterization of not only the enemy, but what your heroes are fighting for. And from the perspective of King Balder, like, King Balder only wants to find his godhood. That's all he wants, and the skulls that follow him only want to serve whatever vision he is chasing. We only get this very short paragraph at the very end of the book that kind of acknowledges that there's like a whole society behind the skulls that aren't warriors, they're just living their lives. But we don't understand why they're conquering, what their drives are. We just get the one perspective of this egomaniacal conqueror, and like, that might have been fine if he wasn't just introduced in this third book, where this entire series we've been talking about how to deal